Hey there, at every stage of a property investment journey, there is a different property that will be right for you in your situation. My name is Thomas Regan, and over the last 4 years, me and my wife have 20x'd our property's equity position in our property portfolio. Now, what I mean by every property is different, or you need to buy the property that is right for you at the time you are in your property portfolio, is the same property that somebody on $100,000 with no savings might purchase is different from the type of property that someone is on that makes $60,000 per year from their job with $100,000 of savings. So these situations, so basically the type of property you might be purchasing if you have no savings might be a property that would be one that has equity in it from day one, okay? So if you have a high income, you can support a high loan payment, but you don't have any cash to purchase a property. And let me just be clear, if you don't have any money to purchase a property, I don't mean that you make the money out of thin air, but for example, you might use a guarantor or something like that, family member or something like that. So if you're using a guarantor, yeah, effectively you're buying a property with no money. But I mean, if you're, the thing is with a guarantor loan, you're using equity from someone else's property, maybe your parents, to purchase your property. So you are getting into the property with no money, but the person that you're getting the guarantor loan off is effectively going to want to be paid back. So the type of property you would buy for them, or sorry, for yourself, would be one that has equity in it, okay? Why? Because you can refinance that property quickly and pay that person back. So instead of being in a situation where you have the capacity to buy a property in terms of servicing, but you don't have the capacity to buy the property in cash, you've just used someone to help you as a guarantor, and you've taken your step into the property market and got the ball rolling there. And then from there on, you might be able to use the property that you bought, you'll be able to use that property's growth to leverage into the next property and continue on and on and on. But the property that someone is on a lower income but they have a deposit, they might be looking for a different property. Because they're on a lower income, they might be looking for a property that they're going to put down that money as a deposit, but what they need from that property is they need that property to be producing high cash flow. Why would they need that property to be producing high cash flow? Because they need that property to help them service and buy the next one, okay? So, and then if you're starting to get into a bit more strategic property investing, you start asking yourself, which bank should I go to first and which bank should I go to second and third? Now, for example, I always like to, or people that are starting out their property portfolio journey, and even myself, when I was starting, and even now, I like to use CBA. The reason I like to use CBA, especially in a very aggressive or hot market, is because they can move very quickly. Okay, so it might be more beneficial for you in a hot market to use a bank that is able to move quickly, i.e. get a loan fully approved and settled quickly, get a loan approved in 3 days and settle it in 30 days, versus a bank that's going to take 21 days to get the loan approved and 90 days to settle a property. Okay, so that's a strategic way of using different banks in your property investment journey. Now, another way to look at it is if, for example, that Bank A, maybe that bank's CBA, will allow you to buy your 4 properties, but once you have 4 properties, they will no longer lend any money to you. So what you might want to do in that situation is because CBA, in my opinion, is one of the better banks to work with to get lending. I like to max out and get my first 4 properties, or the client's first 4 properties with CBA, and then start moving on to different banks that don't get too worried about how many properties you have. Okay, so I might move on to another of the big 4 banks, which will say, hey, we don't mind if you have 4 properties. If you want to buy another property, you can do it with us, no issues. Okay, so these sort of things, these strategic things, is good to know if you want to build a large property portfolio quickly, because if you don't know those things, that can be what gets you stuck, going from 1, 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. Now, only about 1% of people in Australia ever get to 6 properties, and if you want to be one of them, you need to be a bit more strategic about how you're getting your finances and applying the correct financing strategy to this situation that you are in. My name's Thomas O'Regan. If you need more help, just hit me up in the comments. I'll talk to you later. Bye.